How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. We've got a huge collection of scary videos, from floating rocks to possibly haunted dolls and so much more. So hit that subscribe button and get ready for more scary videos. Just like this. When it comes to scary videos, this one has the creep factor in spades. Shared on TikTok by Hannah Boleyn, the footage was reportedly filmed inside a classroom at Mount San Antonio College long after students and staff had gone home. The room is quiet, lights dim, desks empty. Nothing appears out of place at first. Then this happens. A doll sitting in the classroom appears to move on its own. No one is visible, there's no hand, no string, no obvious explanation. The movement is subtle but unmistakable, and that's what makes it so unsettling. According to Hannah, the video was sent to her by her mother, who works at the school. A janitor who cleans the building late at night claims strange activity has been happening for some time, but this was the first moment he managed to catch anything on camera. Hannah also says her mother has experienced unsettling moments herself, including hearing her name whispered while she was alone in the early hours of the morning. Even more disturbing, other staff members have reportedly had similar experiences in the same classroom, voices calling their names, doors locking and unlocking by themselves, cabinets opening and closing with no one nearby. As a result, Hannah's mother now refuses to arrive at work super early anymore. Whether this is an elaborate prank, a mechanical explanation, or something far more unsettling, viewers remain divided. But one thing's certain. This classroom footage has secured its place among the internet's most recent unnerving scary videos. This unsettling photo was shared by TikTok user RxJSPS, and it shows what was meant to be a light-hearted New Year's Eve moment taking place inside a medical facility. A group of hospital staff had gathered after hours to celebrate together, arranging food down a long table in a brightly lit corridor. Everyone leans in, smiling at the camera, completely unaware of what's lurking behind them. At first glance, the image looks perfectly normal. But when viewers began to look more closely at the far end of the corridor, something deeply unsettling stood out. Down the hall, partially obscured by distance and lighting, appears what looks like a human-like figure. It's standing motionless, facing the wall. The figure looks grey and semi-translucent, lacking the sharp detail and colour of the people in the foreground. What makes the image even more disturbing is that no one present recalls seeing anyone standing there at the time the photo was taken. The corridor was reportedly empty and no additional staff were nearby. Yet the figure is clearly captured in the background, frozen in place, creating the chilling impression that something unseen slipped into the frame, unnoticed. Whether it's a shadow, a trick of lighting, or something far harder to explain, the image has left many viewers unnerved. For some, it looks eerily like a ghostly presence lingering in a hospital hallway, an environment already steeped in emotion, loss, and long nights, turning a simple celebration into one of the creepiest images to surface online recently.
I need somebody way smarter than me to tell me what is happening in this video.
Instagram user Kaylee Andrews has posted a series of mysterious videos that have completely divided the internet. What begins as a simple request for help quickly spirals into one of the strangest viral clips in recent memory.
I need somebody way smarter than me to tell me what is happening in this video. Someone please tell me.
The pair were walking along a quiet rural trail that follows a river, enjoying an ordinary day outdoors. when something utterly bizarre stopped them in their tracks.
My mom and I were hiking at a local trail next to the river, and we came across this rock that was floating in the air.
There appears to be a rock floating in midair.
It did this for probably 5 to 7 minutes while we were there. My mom actually grabbed the rock and rubbed it to see if anything was attached to it.
Bouncing and hovering.
And she put it down, and then it proceeded to float around like this again.
According to Kaylee, the rock remained suspended for roughly 5 to 7 minutes while they stood there watching it in disbelief.
Yeah, so what is happening here?
Kaylee explains that her mum reached out and grabbed the rock off camera to see if there was anything attached to it that could explain what they were seeing. She rubbed it, turned it over, and checked it closely. There was no visible string, no web, no attachment of any kind. When her mum let go, the rock slowly rose back up and continued floating. Once the clip hit social media, it exploded. Some viewers immediately dismissed it as an AI-generated hoax, something Kaylee firmly denies. Others suggested it could be an orb spider's web catching the light in just the right way, suspending the rock in a near-invisible strand. After the video went viral, Kaylee posted a follow-up storytime update to address the speculation head-on. She acknowledged why people were skeptical, especially in an era where AI-generated content is everywhere, but reiterated that the footage was real and unaltered.
It's not AI. I understand why people think it is. It's very strange and bizarre. I've never experienced a floating rock in front of me before.
She made it clear that there was no fishing line, no string, and no one else around besides her and her mum. They had inspected the rock closely and nothing was attached to it.
My mom actually grabbed the rock and rubbed it to see if anything was attached to it. Nothing was. And she put it down, and then it proceeded to float around like this again.
Kaylee also explained why there was no footage of her mum holding the rock. After filming for a while, she had put her phone in her pocket to continue the hike and spend time together. It was only then that her mum picked the rock up briefly, set it back down, and watched it float again. By the time Kaylee realized what was happening, the moment had already passed. She added that she chose not to take the rock with her at the time, admitting she was superstitious enough to leave a floating rock exactly where it was found.
Some people have said, where is the rock now? Did you bring it home with you? No, I did not. I am superstitious enough to leave a floating rock where it is.
Viewers also asked where the rock was now and whether they could return to the spot to gather more evidence. In a third update, Kaylee did just that. She and her mum went back to the same area the following day and searched for over an hour among countless identical stones. Eventually, they believe they found the same rock again.
Oh my god, I found it! Yep, that's it.
This time, Kaylee filmed it more closely and decided to bring it home, still unable to explain what they had witnessed.
Okay, so this is the rock. I found it against all odds. Crazy. Guys, insanity. Okay.
To this day, Kaylee maintains that she doesn't know what caused the rock to float and accepts that no explanation will convince everyone. Whether it was an incredibly rare natural phenomenon, an illusion of physics, or something science has yet to fully explain, the floating rock remains one of the internet's most puzzling mysteries.
Oh my god, you guys. Oh my god.
We shared Misty's baby cam footage last week, but since then, the story has taken an even darker turn. TikTok user Misty Huron, known online as Chaos with Misty, has continued posting updates, and each one adds another unsettling layer to what's happening inside her home. It all still traces back to that original baby monitor clip. For just a brief moment, a dark shape appears, then retreats out of view. Misty has reiterated in her updates that no one was up there at the time, and she still has no explanation for what the camera captured. In a follow-up video, she addressed the sudden attention and shared more context.
Still have no idea what happened or what that was.
She explains that she never expected the clip to blow up the way it did. After viewers complained it was too fast, she uploaded a slowed down version, but even then she says she still doesn't know what the shape was. The moment she noticed it appear on the top bunk, she dropped her phone and ran upstairs, managing to capture only about 4 seconds of footage. Then comes another update, this time involving her daughter. Misty records a candid conversation where her daughter explains she couldn't sleep the night before.
Mom,
How'd you sleep last night?
good, but Avery woke up a lot last night.
According to her daughter, she heard music, laughter, and whispering coming from inside her room.
Oh, you slept with me. How would you have heard her wake up? She slept all night.
There was music playing from her room. You guys were like laughing.
Are you sure you weren't dreaming?
I don't think I was dreaming.
There was no TV on, no tablet, no obvious source for the sounds.
Sissy said that Avery kept her up all night because she said she heard her like laughing and playing and music going in her room.
After that, the situation escalates further. Misty says she was folding laundry when she heard a series of loud thumps coming from outside. When she stepped into the backyard,
Run outside, and this is what is all over my yard right now.
she found dozens of dead birds scattered across the grass. It looked as though they had flown directly into the house and died on impact. Earlier that same morning, Misty had already called a pest inspector after a sudden ant infestation overtook her kitchen.
I also had to call pest control back out here today because I woke up this morning, there were ants crawling everywhere, all over the floor, all over the counters, up the wall. I don't know, y'all.
Some paranormal enthusiasts believe unexplained insect infestations and mass animal deaths are often interpreted as warning signs of negative or hostile energy, adding yet another disturbing layer to the ongoing events. In her most recent update, Misty films a room tour of the same bedroom where the baby cam footage was recorded. She carefully points out that there's nothing in the room, no shadows, furniture, or objects that could account for the figure seen earlier.
This is the bunk bed. This is where I took her out of her crib, ran up the bunk bed. There was nothing up there when I came. There's nothing suspicious. There's no hair from like a rat or something that could have came in. This is marker.
But just as the clip is about to end, something chilling happens.
I don't know. I have no idea what could be causing it. Oh my God, it's rocking.
The rocking horse moves, all on its own.
I don't know. I have no idea what could be causing it. Oh my God, it's rocking.
The video cuts immediately.
What could be causing it? Oh my God, it's rocking. Fuck.
For now, the saga is still unfolding. Followers are watching each update closely, waiting to see what happens next. So what's really going on inside Misty's home? A series of coincidences, a camera glitch, or something genuinely paranormal taking hold?
Oh my God, it's rocking.
We are picking a passenger called Betty up from the Fort Lincoln Cemetery.
TikToker Ken Kihyu usually shares thoughtful reflections about life, philosophy, and human nature, all through the lens of his experiences as an Uber driver.
So we are at a cemetery and we have a passenger to pick up.
But recently, Ken, who posts under the username Uber and a Dream, shared a scary video that left his viewers deeply unsettled.
I'm picking this person called Betty up, and it's over there, and it's a cemetery. And there's no one over here.
The story begins when Ken receives a new ride request. The passenger's name is Betty. At first, nothing seems out of the ordinary. until Ken notices the pickup location. The app is directing him to Fort Lincoln Cemetery.
And it's over there. And it's a cemetery. And there's no one over here.
Ken follows the navigation into the cemetery grounds, where the app leads him to a quiet, empty section of the graveyard.
We'll find out what's going on here.
There are no people, no movement, no sign of anyone waiting for a ride.
Well, my app says I'm here.
Still, the app insists that Betty is there, waiting to be picked up. Confused, Ken attempts to call the passenger through the app.
Let's try calling them again.
This Uber call is being recorded.
No answer. He waits. He looks around, but no one ever appears. Eventually, Ken has no choice but to cancel the ride and leave the cemetery behind.
Please leave your message.
So I ended up canceling the ride because there's nobody over here.
After posting the clip, viewers began combing through the audio.
We'll find out what's going on here.
Several commenters claim they can hear a faint second voice just as Ken steps out of his car. Some say it sounds like a woman softly saying, "I'm here." Others insist this wasn't a glitch at all, but a spirit attempting to make contact using modern technology. So was this simply a technical error? Or did an unseen passenger really try to hail an Uber from beyond the grave? You decide. Here's a bizarre little clip that's been going viral this week, and it's left viewers completely baffled. The video opens with the uploader facing the camera, clearly showing there's nothing hidden in his mouth. He sticks out his tongue, turns his head side to side, and makes a point of proving there's nothing there. Then he starts swishing water around in his mouth and spitting it out, over and over again. At first, it seems harmless, almost mundane. But then things take a strange turn. Suddenly, the man begins pouring a steady stream of water from his mouth. Not a quick spit, not a trickle, a continuous flow that lasts several seconds, far more water than seems physically possible to hold. The stream just keeps coming. Viewers were quick to question what they were seeing. Is this some kind of illusion, a clever sleight of hand, or could it be edited in a way that hides what's really going on? Whatever the explanation, this clip has people scratching their heads and watching it again just to make sure their eyes aren't playing tricks on them.
You are, to my knowledge, the only leader of a prominent nation who was abducted by aliens and taken up on a spacecraft while you were a sitting president in 1997.
Here's a remarkable story that's been quietly circulating online for decades, and it's just resurfaced in a big way.
I'm here with the great Kirsan Ilyumzinov.
A recent podcast hosted by Jesse Michaels has brought renewed attention to an extraordinary interview with Kirsan Ilyumzinov, the former president of the Russian Republic of Kalmykia and longtime head of the World Chess Federation known as FIDE.
At that time, I was the president of the Republic of Kalmykia and the president of the World Chess Federation FIDE.
What makes this interview so unusual is the claim at its center.
You are, to my knowledge, the only leader of a prominent nation who was abducted by aliens and taken up on a spacecraft while you were a sitting president in 1997.
Ilyumzinov says that in September of 1997, while he was still a sitting president, he was taken aboard an alien spacecraft.
Well, the most ordinary thing happened. Probably what happens to many aliens, that is, Earthlings. You know, we call them aliens, and they call us the same, because we are the fifth civilization on our Earth.
According to his account, the incident took place late at night at his Moscow apartment. After returning home around 10 p.m., he watched television, turned it off, and prepared to sleep. That's when he says something strange happened. He recalls hearing his balcony door open and feeling compelled to step toward it. Outside, he claims he saw what looked like a glowing, semi-transparent tube or corridor made of light or energy. He entered it and was transported upward into a massive craft. Inside, Ilyumzinov says he encountered tall, human-like beings wearing yellow suits. When he first arrived, he struggled to breathe, but one of the beings gestured for him to press on his chest. When he did, his breathing stabilized and the air suddenly smelled like the sea or a forest.
I pressed, and then it was easy to breathe again. I felt pretty comfortable. The air even smelled like the sea or the forest or something.
He describes the spacecraft as enormous, with chambers as large as a football field filled with screens, flickering colors, and unfamiliar imagery. Through a porthole, he says he saw a fiery planet radiating intense heat, where the beings appeared to be collecting samples in cylindrical containers.
They were loading those into the ship. Maybe they were collecting something. Maybe conducting experiments. Maybe they had landed on some planet while I was there.
Communication, he claims, wasn't verbal. Instead, it happened through telepathy, an exchange of ideas. He says the beings answered his questions before he could even finish thinking them.
So I calmly asked a question, and they answered, through thoughts. You know, there was once a state, or rather a civilization, called Atlantis, where people also communicated through thoughts.
When he asked why they didn't reveal themselves openly to humanity, the response unsettled him. According to Ilyumzinov, the being said humanity wasn't ready. They compared humans to ants and criticized our wars, pollution, and consumption of animals, describing civilization as still being at an embryonic stage.
It's still early. You have not yet reached the level in your civilization's development to communicate with us.
Perhaps most intriguingly, Ilyumzinov insists there were witnesses to his disappearance. He claims his driver, a government minister, and his assistant arrived the next morning to escort him to the airport. Unable to reach him, they unlocked the apartment, searched it thoroughly, found his clothes and phones, but not him.
The bedroom door was open. They go in, and I'm not there. Slippers are in place, phones are in place. They checked the bathroom and every other room in the apartment. But well, I wasn't there. The balcony door was open, and that's it.
Then, according to his assistant, Ilyumzinov suddenly emerged from a bedroom they had already checked. When asked where he had been, he allegedly replied, "Aliens took me."
I just came out of the bedroom and went to the bathroom. They followed me into the bathroom and started touching me, like, "Are you alive or not?" I said, "Alive." "Well, where were you?" I said, "I was flying with friends."
The fallout was immediate. A Russian MP formally asked the Kremlin to investigate whether state secrets had been compromised by extraterrestrial contact. Ilyumzinov says he personally discussed the incident with President Boris Yeltsin, who reportedly confirmed he was mentally sound and told him to continue his work. He also claims to have spoken about it with Vladimir Putin.
Actually, he said that he talked with Yeltsin about this story. Whether Yeltsin reported it to Putin, I'm not aware.
In a final twist, Ilyum Zinov links his experience to chess itself. He has openly theorized that the game was introduced to humanity by extraterrestrials, pointing to the coincidence that a chessboard has 64 squares, the same number as the codons in human DNA.
So chess, it's something that was brought in from somewhere else. Man didn't invent them, you see. Aliens invented it. Extraterrestrials invented it. Other civilizations invented it. Why does the chessboard have exactly 64 squares on it? 64 squares. Our DNA is made up of 64 DNA coids. This is, like information transfer.
True or not, this isn't a story told by a fringe, anonymous source, but by a powerful political figure who has never backed away from his account. And with renewed attention on UFO disclosures worldwide, many are once again asking whether this was an elaborate delusion or one of the most extraordinary alien abduction claims ever tied to global leadership. Here's a strange one shared by the Facebook page, The Paranormal Order, after it was sent in by a follower named Michael. The image is a still taken from a home security camera set up to monitor the backyard of a rural property. Moving across the grass is what appears to be a small humanoid figure. The figure looks vaguely like a young girl, mid-stride, slightly blurred as if caught in motion. According to Michael, there was no one on the property at the time the photo was taken. No children, no visitors, and no neighbours who could account for someone crossing the lawn. The security camera didn't trigger any other alerts before or after this moment, just this single unsettling frame. Skeptics suggest it could be something mundane, like an insect flying close to the lens or a trick of motion blur caused by the camera's night mode. But others aren't so convinced, pointing out the figure's human-like proportions. So what do you think this camera really captured? A harmless glitch, or something far more mysterious wandering through the night?
For 27 months, Las Vegas was UFO Central. A secret program known as OSAP was created back in 2008.
A news segment from 8 News Now Las Vegas has resurfaced some truly unsettling details about a secret US government UFO program that most people have never heard of.
But the investigators for the program, all of whom had top security clearances, encountered things that were far stranger than UFOs, phenomena that could be accurately described as paranormal.
The investigation centered around a classified operation known internally as SAP, which ran from 2008 to 2011 with the backing of Nevada Senator Harry Reid.
Senator Harry Reid helped secure the funding, and Bigelow Aerospace was the contractor. 50 full-time investigators were hired, obtained top-secret security clearances, and went to work.
According to the report, this wasn't a fringe project or a small-scale inquiry. It was described as the largest UFO investigation ever undertaken by the US government. The program was launched after officials became alarmed by repeated UFO intrusions near sensitive military and national defense facilities. Rather than dismissing the reports, intelligence leaders became concerned about the potential threat these phenomena posed. The operation was overseen by a senior government scientist and intelligence analyst, later identified as Dr. Jim McCaskey, who journalist George Knapp interviewed years later.
From my organization, the threat potential, and we weren't covering many of the things you were observing. Strange creatures. I mean, think of inducing these, what might be called illusions by some people, into an enemy force. We wanted to learn what can be weaponized here.
One location quickly became central to the investigation. a remote property in northeastern Utah, better known today as Skinwalker Ranch.
At least 5 highly experienced intelligence officers who went to the ranch to check things out came into contact with paranormal phenomena and then took it home with them.
At the time, the ranch was owned by aerospace billionaire Robert Bigelow, whose company was contracted by the government to study the site. Bigelow Aerospace reportedly employed around 50 full-time investigators, all holding top-secret clearances to live on and monitor the property. What they encountered there went far beyond unidentified flying objects. Investigators reported encounters with unknown creatures, poltergeist-like activity, and physical effects that left witnesses injured or ill. The program even expanded to document medical cases involving rare diseases and unexplained physical trauma linked to close UFO encounters. A massive internal database was created, compiling thousands of accounts, and a disturbing pattern began to emerge.
OSAP created a massive database of UFO accounts, but the witnesses were typically reluctant to admit that they had also had paranormal experiences after encountering UFOs.
Those who experienced UFO sightings up close often reported paranormal phenomena shortly afterward.
Witnesses were typically reluctant to admit that they had also had paranormal experiences after encountering UFOs.
This led to one of the program's most chilling discoveries, something researchers referred to as the hitchhiker effect.
Perhaps the strangest experience reported by nearly everyone in OSAP who visited the Bigelow Ranch is what is now known as the hitchhiker effect.
In several documented cases, investigators didn't leave the phenomenon behind when they left the ranch.
After one investigator returned from the ranch to his East Coast home, his entire family was bedeviled by orbs and what they described as a wolf that walked on 2 legs.
At least 5 intelligence officers later reported strange events occurring in their own homes, sometimes thousands of kilometers away. These included sightings of glowing orbs, shadowy figures, and even physical entities. In one particularly disturbing account, an investigator's family on the East Coast reported encounters with what they described as a wolf-like creature that walked on 2 legs, leaving behind physical evidence, including claw marks scratched into a tree. The program officially ended in late 2010. While skeptics claimed it was shut down because the reports were simply too weird, those involved insist the real reason was the desire to keep the findings out of public view. Senator Reid later attempted to establish a follow-up program known as Kona Blue under the Department of Homeland Security. That effort was quietly cancelled, though insiders suggest parts of the research may have continued elsewhere. The 8 News Now report concludes by pointing viewers toward Mystery Wire, George Knapp's ongoing investigative series, which continues to explore these cases, including connections to Area 51, Bob Lazar, and the unsettling overlap between UFO encounters and the paranormal.
I called John Lear, hey, about your scientist guy who works at Area 51, might he talk to us? Having no idea what had been going on in Lazar's life in the interim since I heard about him, and they arranged it. And suddenly this story comes spilling out. I didn't know exactly what he was going to say. Paula Francis had no idea. The news director didn't.
Because if this program revealed anything at all, it's that whatever is behind these sightings may not just be watching us, it might be able to follow us home. Here's an amusing little clip to break up the scary videos. A harmless prank has been set up to scare a young boy. He peers into a bedroom and instantly gets the fright of his life. At first, it plays out like a standard jump scare, but then something bizarre happens. Instead of running down the stairs normally, the boy suddenly flies down them. He barely seems to touch a single step. In fact, it looks less like running and more like gliding. Even the mum who's filming the prank from the beginning completely loses it laughing, clearly just as stunned as everyone watching. Whether it's pure adrenaline, a perfect camera angle, or just a once-in-a-lifetime panic reaction, this might be the fastest staircase exit ever caught on camera. A recent scientific study into a bizarre type of mushroom has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Researchers from the Natural History Museum of Utah and the University of Utah have been investigating a little-known species called Lanmaua asiatica. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary bolete mushroom closely related to edible porcini. But when eaten raw or undercooked, it does something extraordinary, and people don't just hallucinate colors or patterns, they report seeing little people. Tiny, cartoon-like figures, sometimes less than an inch tall, described as elves, gnomes, or miniature men dressed in bright red and green clothing. According to the study, these visions are classified as Lilliputian hallucinations, named after the tiny people in Gulliver's Travels. Witnesses describe the figures marching across tables, dancing on utensils, swimming in bowls of soup, or teasing the observer as if fully aware they're being watched. In one documented account, a professor in China lifted a tablecloth and saw hundreds of tiny figures marching beneath it. When he lifted the cloth higher, their heads stuck to the fabric, while their bodies kept marching forward. What makes this case especially strange is that chemical analysis found no traces of known psychedelics like psilocybin or muscimol. Instead, researchers believe the mushroom contains an entirely unknown compound capable of reliably producing these vivid, fairy tale-like visions. Even more unsettling, users often remain fully lucid during the experience, observing the tiny figures as if they're physically present in the room. Symptoms can begin hours after ingestion and, in severe cases, last for days, or even weeks. On a strange side note, there's a clip doing the social rounds lately, shared by Instagram creator Dakota Wint, that's been raising eyebrows.
They say that there are like little people living in the jungle.
Yeah, like a dwarf.
Like dwarfs. Yeah. Is that here too?
Yeah.
While filming with a remote tribe in Papua New Guinea, Dakota records locals describing encounters with little gnome-like beings deep in the jungle.
These are the ones.
That's them? Have you seen them before?
Yeah. Yep.
You've seen them?
Yeah, they're representative of the dwarfs.
The villagers warn that these small humanoid creatures are dangerous.
They look like people or what?
They look like people.
What do they do?
They kill people.
They say the figures rarely appear, but when the forest grows quiet and still, they come out of hiding.
We don't see them very often. But you go to the jungle and if it is very quiet, then you can see them running around.
According to the tribe, people who encounter them don't always come back.
Whatever, you've seen them too? Everyone sees them?
Yeah.
Whether these stories are ancient folklore, misunderstood wildlife, or something far stranger, it's unsettling to see modern science and remote tribal legends describing eerily similar visions. Here's a weird one that's been setting off more than a few wild theories online.
Okay, in my whole life I've never seen this.
The clip was posted to Instagram by user 1DRDEB, also known as Deborah Wyndham.
This is a shadow on the mountain from the exhaust from that plane.
Deborah is filming a quiet desert landscape when she notices something unusual in the sky.
That's insane. Oh yeah, I've never seen that before. Is it a sign?
The long white trail appears to be casting a dark shadow across the hillside below. That shadow stretches across the terrain in a way Deborah says she's never seen before. She captions the clip by asking a simple question. Never seen this before. Is it a sign?
Oh yeah, I've never seen that before. Is it a sign?
As the video circulated, commenters quickly jumped to familiar explanations. Some suggested it was just a contrail. A condensation trail formed when hot aircraft exhaust meets cold air at high altitude. Under the right lighting conditions, contrails can cast shadows, especially when the sun is low in the sky. Others weren't so convinced. A number of viewers immediately linked the footage to the long-running chemtrails conspiracy theory, the belief that some aircraft trails aren't simple condensation at all, but chemical agents deliberately sprayed into the atmosphere. The chemtrails theory first gained traction in the late 1990s, when observers began noticing persistent trails that didn't dissipate as quickly as traditional contrails. Over time, the idea evolved into claims of weather manipulation, population control, or atmospheric testing carried out by governments or shadowy organizations. Scientists and aviation experts have repeatedly pushed back against these claims, explaining that modern jet engines, changing fuel compositions, and specific atmospheric conditions can all produce long-lasting contrails, some of which may spread, linger, or cast shadows depending on the angle of the sun. Still, clips like this continue to fuel debate.
This is a shadow.
So is this just an unusual but perfectly natural optical effect? Or something more people believe we're not meant to question?
That's insane. Oh yeah, I've never seen that before. Is it a sign?
If you want to see more scary videos just like these, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on all channel notifications. That way you'll get notifications every time we drop a brand new episode. The Naga fireballs are one of Southeast Asia's most enduring and controversial mysteries. Also known locally as Bang Phai Fire Nak, these strange lights appear just once a year along the Mekong River, rising silently from the water and vanishing into the night sky. In footage captured by Abraxas iridium, several glowing orbs can be seen lifting straight up from the dark surface of the river. Another perspective, shared by Geek Slop, shows the same phenomenon from farther downstream. What's striking is how consistent the behavior is. The orbs don't drift sideways, they don't flicker like fireworks, they rise smoothly, as if guided along an invisible path. Local news footage from LNTV English News captures crowds gathered along the riverbank in Nong Khai. The timing of these sightings is just as precise as their movement. The fireballs appear only on a single night each year, marking the end of Buddhist Lent. This corresponds with the full moon of the 11th lunar month, usually falling in late October or early November. A longer recording by Steve Cleary shows the lights continuing intermittently for over an hour. Sightings are concentrated along a 250-kilometre stretch of the Mekong River, particularly near Phon Phisai and Ratanawapi in Thailand, and directly across the river in Laos. For locals, there's no mystery here at all. According to centuries-old folklore, the fireballs are created by the Phaya Nak, a mythical serpent believed to live beneath the Mekong in an underwater city known as Muang Badan. Believers say the Naga breathe or release these glowing orbs as an offering, welcoming the Buddha back to Earth at the end of Lent. To them, the lights are sacred, not scientific. Over time, the event has grown into a major cultural festival. Thai government-backed celebrations now draw hundreds of thousands of visitors, complete with ceremonies, boat races and light shows retelling the Naga legend. But not everyone is convinced. Some scientists argue the fireballs could be caused by flammable gases such as methane or phosphine released from the riverbed and igniting when they reach the surface. Others suggest rare plasma phenomena or even gravitational effects linked to the Earth, Sun and Moon aligning during the full moon. Skeptics point to another explanation entirely. They claim the lights are tracer rounds or flares fired from the Laos side of the river. Slow shutter images, they argue, show straight lines of light rather than floating spheres. Yet that theory has its own problems. During strict COVID lockdowns in Laos in 2021, when curfews and heavy police patrols were in place, the fireballs were still reported. No gunfire was heard, no flares were found. Year after year, the lights return. Whether they are sacred offerings, natural gas ignitions, plasma orbs, or something still unknown, the Naga fireballs remain one of the world's most persistent and unexplained recurring phenomena. And for those standing quietly on the riverbank, watching glowing spheres rise from the Mekong, one thing is certain. Whatever's happening out there, it's been happening for a very long time. Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more scary videos, then check out those links right there. Remember to leave us some comments down below or subscribe if you're new. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.